It's Alex Kirkland and Jules here talking centre forwards in the FC 100 list this year. And number one, Jules, it's your mate, Kylian Mbappe. What does it say about Mbappe that in a so-called off year, a disappointing season for him at Real Madrid in many ways, still scored 43 goals, Jules, in all competitions?
Yeah, I think it's incredible. And to be fair, just to warn everybody, you will be the level-headed guy with a good analysis, the voice of wisdom very much in this, and I'm be the fan because I am completely biased, as you know. I can hear the fact that he could have done better for sure, and having spoken to him, the family, etc. I think they would agree on that. He would agree himself on that. He could have been better. There's a lot of things that he didn't like from his own season, the game against Bilbao and that penalty missed against the game against Liverpool in the Champions League too, for example, for similar reasons. These were low moments. He said it himself publicly that this is where he struggled a little bit, but that was early on in the season. And I think he showed a lot of character to come back stronger after those moments where really felt low and things were not happening for him. But to score 43 goals in a bad season, I'll take it every year. Really, and I know Real Madrid didn't win any major trophy, no La Liga, no the Copa del Rey, and no the Champions League. But overall, I don't know where they would have ended up without him, really, and all his goals. It's a golden boot, European golden boot for the first time in his career, and that in itself, I think, is an achievement.
Yeah, and some people talk about, whether he kind of showed up in the big games or the big moments. I actually think if you look at his season for Real Madrid, he scored goals pretty consistently in the games that mattered right from the start of the season. He scored in the UEFA Super Cup. He scored in the FIFA Intercontinental Cup. He scored in the Spanish Super Copa. Ended the season, of course, scoring a hat-trick in El Clasico. Scored a hat-trick against Manchester City as well in the Champions League knockout phase playoff. He was often scoring in these big games. Now, those goals didn't always influence the outcome. And, I mentioned the Clasico, the fact that Real Madrid lost 4 Clásicos in a row to Barcelona, despite his goals and the threat that he often posed in those games. I mean, you talked about kind of some of the lows in terms of missing those penalties. Maybe another big one was the first Clasico of the season in La Liga that Barca won 4-0. And he famously kind of broke his own record for the most number of offsides in a game, especially in that first half, as he was getting used to that Barcelona offside trap. But like I say, I think generally in a lot of those big games, he has stepped up. He has scored goals. And like I say, in the context of a team that really has not been working, there's so much to iron out there in terms of his relationship with Vinicius Jr., with Jude Bellingham and Rodrigo, lots of issues with that Madrid team. And the fact, despite that, a relatively slow start to the season, sure, but pretty consistently right the way through, he scored goals. Like I say, ended up with 43 of them. And he's become as well, he's the leader of that Real Madrid team now. Absolutely. He didn't come in sort of demanding that, but it just kind of became obvious as the season went on that this was the guy that the team and the fans and everybody was looking to. Of course, like you say, it's going to be judged by trophies. And he said that himself. He said it's not about goals. He said, my goals don't matter to me if they're not accompanied by major trophies. And so, yeah, of course, that's the big kind of disappointment this year.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we can't forget either as well that it's his first season, to be fair. And I know he's been preparing himself to play for Real Madrid in Spain because that was his ultimate dream. So the language, he had it. He'd been there on holidays, so he had prepared himself. But still, it's still a massive change. When you spend 7 years in Paris, for example, plus the years in Monaco before, when you really never left France outside of holidays or for playing matches, it's a massive shift in the way you need to adapt to your new team, a new culture, new teammates, new dressing room, new manager, just everything. And that's why maybe the beginning, even if he started really well with, as you said, scoring against Atalanta in that European Super Cup and winning it, then there was a decent start in the league. Then there was this goal drought that I think annoyed him more than anything else because he just lives for goals and he lives for...
He said rock bottom, didn't he? He said he hit rock bottom exactly around that penalty miss, yeah.
Yeah, that's the word, the words he used. And really, if you look at his career, rock bottom had never happened before. He never went more than 4 or 3. I think it was 3 games without scoring before. And I think there was 5 games in the league where he didn't score this season, earlier in the season. And then things got better. As you said, even in a team that was not really functioning that well. His relationship with Vini, his relationship with Bellingham, his relationship, I guess, with Rodrigo. But the whole balance of that team and the whole structure of that team was a bit of a struggle at time for everyone. So despite all of that, for him to still have 43 goals, as we said, the European Golden Boot, and still having been able to, in a way, which I think he didn't really wanted to look at the record of the most goals scored for a first season for a Real Madrid player. But deep inside, really, he wanted to. So for him to have done that, to have, for example, bettered what Cristiano did, his idol, for his first season, better than a Van Nistelrooy, better than a Benzema, better than a Hugo Sanchez, I don't know, whatever name you want, I think that also would have pleased him. And that's why also we put him at number 1 in our ranking.
And what about his place in that ranking? Because we've got second, Robert Lewandowski of Barcelona. Of course, Barcelona had a sensational season, winning the league, winning the Copa del Rey. Lewandowski proving a lot of people wrong. A lot of people thought he was kind of past it. I think I might have talked about that at times. Hasn't looked it this year. And Harry Kane at number 3 with Bayern. How do you assess that top 3?
Yeah, I think Lewandowski, fantastic, as you said. That front three with Rafinha and Lamine has been exceptional. And I think the arrival of Flick has almost rejuvenated him. Is that what we say? Rejuvenated him.
Yeah.
It's a manager that he obviously knew very well from the past, with whom he won a lot. And to have him very different to Xavi on the bench, just I think helped him massively. I'm amazed, really. Maybe you should not be surprised by his fitness despite his age, because of the way he's living his life. His wife is a PT and a health guru. His parents were sports people, or the whole family. So if there's one guy who can stay fit for a very long time, it's probably Robert Lewandowski. But still, at his age, to do that, very impressed. For Harry Kane, I don't know how hard you want me to go on him, because number 3, I didn't see this one coming. He was 6 on my list. Third, I think it's a little bit too high for my liking.
Okay, so who would you have had above Kane? Who do you think's missing in terms of that top 3? Are there any kind of obvious names for you that are further
my
down?
third one was Alexander Isak. I think the season that he's had in the Premier League and with Newcastle, leading this team to a top 4 finish and a League Cup triumph for the first FS trophy in 71 years, I think it's just remarkable. And it's the all-around game that I love from Isak. There's just nothing he cannot do. And Kane is a bit the same, but Kane is getting older now. I don't think he's as fit as he used to be. And there are not many like Isak really in world football right now. So yeah, I think Isak for me was a deserved number 3 in this very, very strong top 3.
Yeah, and Mbappe, as we say, number 1. I think it says a lot about what people think of Kylian Mbappe and how highly they rate him, that he's still there, top of the rankings, even if in a season which Real Madrid have ended without a major trophy. So Mbappe, number 1 in the centre forwards list of the FC 100.